That casts serious issues on how our 2019 census has been conducted.
The Honorable Ibrahim Sani. I saw him in the House, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the outset, I would wish to applaud the work of this committee for work well done. The report is very thorough, insightful, and comprehensive to that extent in regard to matters of inclusion of people with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, Article 54.2 expressly talks on the empowerment of people with disability, more so on Section 2, which requires a progressive realization of mainstreaming people with disabilities in institutions, both institutions and electoral ones, Mr. Speaker. It suggests that it should be at least 5%. The benchmark is at least 5%. It doesn't mean it is 5%. You will realize that for 14 years since the promulgation of our Constitution, there is nothing measurable in terms of attainment of the least 5%. The question is, what does progressive mean, and how has this at least 5% been measured in terms of the 14 years of the existence of the current Constitution, Mr. Speaker? The committee seriously delved and audited 39 institutions across the country. And it is worth recognizing that it is only the Lake Basin Authority that met the requisite requirements in law. It's good to applaud also that the Lake Basin stands out to be the only institution in the country that has met the legal threshold in compliance with the law on people living with disability. It's also worth to note that in terms of meeting the threshold or the progressive realization of mainstreaming people with disability across institutions, even across the institutions, the average stands at 2.1%. In the last Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, 2.2% of 0.9 million in Kenya are people with disability. That tells you that there is a sharp decline in people with disability relative to 2009 census. That casts serious issues on how our 2019 census has been conducted. With all the natural vagaries, with all the accidents, with all the problems, population increase, it doesn't actually, it's not logical to say that disability has decreased with time from 2009 to 2019. That indicates how the 2019 census has been conducted, that it goes against science, it goes against the basic logical things, that disability today has diminished 10 years from 2009. I think that gives more flesh to these people who are agitated that the 2019 census was not well conducted, more so the pastoralist communities of northern Kenya. Because it doesn't really augur well. It doesn't augur well that disability has diminished, that disability has decreased with population increase. Scientifically, rationally, logically, I don't know how fast it has come, Mr. Speaker. I had more points to make. One thing I wanted to suggest, that it is only the rural communities where we have majority of the people with disability, Mr. Speaker. This committee should know that the institutions that are required to at least absorb people with disabilities are not in the rural communities. And yet the majority of the people who are disabled.
Can the chair grants you an additional 2 minutes.
Thank you for your generosity, Mr. Speaker. What I wanted to say, the population of people with disability are in the rural communities, and our institutions are based in urban centers. So this report goes short of telling us that it is the institutions that should devolve to the rural communities so that more people are at least mainstream. The nature of disability is an issue, Mr. Speaker.
Continue.
The nature of disability is an issue, Mr. Speaker. People with mental illness, people who are mentally unwell, and wellness is an issue of concern globally today, cannot be mainstreamed or be given gainful employment, Mr. Speaker. So how should the government conduct itself moving forward? It's about capacity building, placing people who are disabled in jobs, and making sure that they are given capacity and soft skills more so that we can upscale their numbers with time, Mr. Speaker. What is more important, Mr. Speaker? We have the laws as we speak. We can't infinitely be making laws as a house. These laws must be implemented. Kenya has a problem with implementation of laws. These laws on disability is so comprehensive. If only we would have implemented them fully, we would have been better than we are today, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, I support.